Excellencies, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, as all VIPs have arrived, I'd like to open this conference. My name is Sung-hoon Park, Dean of GSIS and DIS of Korea University. Thank you for coming. This conference is hosted by three institutions: Korea University's GSIS, Free University of Brussels, and the Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, and is supported also and sponsored by European Commission, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat, as well as the Jungang daily newspaper, the most important newspaper of Korea. Also is this event prepared in commemoration of 10th anniversary of Korea University's Division of International Studies. We have set up the Division of International Studies 10 years ago, and it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. So I have put the commemoration of 10th anniversary of the DIS. It is my great pleasure and honor to host this conference. This conference was made possible through the very important project the Free University of Brussels is conducting in cooperation with the European and Asian partners. And I'm really happy that we have gathered many important scholars as well as policymakers to this conference. And I'd like to share I'd like to have all the knowledge and insights of these participants being shared by to the participants of this conference. Probably it is better now to introduce Dr. Kim Mi-ryung to give another opening speech. So, Dr. Kim, please.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Korea University, and welcome to this important EU-Korea conference. And I'm not going to give a speech. I'm just going to actually give very brief remarks on this important project we are undertaking. This conference is part of a European Commission-funded research project aimed to promote EU-Korea relations. And the objective is, through this conference, through this debate, we will produce a set of policy recommendations to the European Union that will help strengthen EU-Korea relations. And our project is implemented in partnership with Korea University and 5 other institutions and business associations from the European Union and the Republic of Korea. And our objective, our consortium project objective, is to help EU-Korea relations strengthened by helping them understand each other better through public debates like this conference, as well as research results that are due to be put into policy recommendations. And to that end, this conference, I hope, will result in a set of policy recommendations on this important topic of EU-Korea and the economic integration of Northeast Asia that our consortium can put forward to the European Union. And lastly, I would like to thank the European Commission and the European Union to provide us a very important seed funding to be able to undertake this important project. Thank you very much.
ladies and gentlemen, we have prepared several welcoming remarks and congratulatory addresses and keynote speeches. So I'd like to, first of all, invite Professor Paul de Knop, Rector of Vrije Universiteit Brussels, for his welcoming remark.
Good morning. I'm sorry for my throat. It's because of the airplane. Anyhow, Vice Minister Han, Professor Kim, Ambassador Shin, President Che, Excellencies, dear participants. As a rector and co-organizer of this seminar, I'm delighted that this conference can take place here in Seoul and together with the KU, the Korean University. And why? There are 5 reasons for me to be very delighted. First, I consider Korea to be the gateway to East Asia, as Brussels is the gateway to Europe. Secondly, I believe that Korea can play an important, a crucial role in helping the European Union to understand East Asia better. Third reason is that I am a strong believer that in order to overcome global problems, we have to look for global solutions and for win-win situations. Fourth, I'm also convinced that a strategic partnership between the Free University of Brussels and the Korea University can play an important role in strengthening European Union-Korea relationship and European Union-East Asia relationship through research and education. And fifth, VUB, so the Free University of Brussels, my university, and Korea University have several elements in common. We are not the biggest universities, but we are very dynamic. We have the same values. We share the same values. We're defending democratic principles. Secondly, I saw your movie and I saw that there are keywords like spirit, energy, global, social responsibility. And that are the values that we are defending too. So I'm very glad, and ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress you that VEB is committed to strengthen the relationship with Korea, with East Asia, and with the Korean University. It is committed to do this in order to achieve our common goals. And this conference is already the first step, but an important step to strengthen our relationship. I'm coming from sport. Every marathon starts with the first step. This conference is a very important step. I thank you, and I'm taking the opportunity already from this stage to thank Professor Park and also Mimi Kim, Dr. Mimi Kim, for setting up this fine seminar. And I wish you all the best and a fruitful seminar, and I hope it's my first time in Korea. I already said it certainly won't be my last, and I hope that when I come back, we will not even be partners, but brothers and sisters together. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Professor Paul de Knop. This conference would not have been made possible without a very generous co-hostship and financial support from the Korea Institute for International Economic Policy. So I'd like to invite Dr. Uk Chae from KIEP, the president of KIEP, for his welcoming.
Good morning. As been introduced, my name is Uk Chae, the president of KIEP. Since this is really informal and a very important seminar, let me read the prepared welcoming remarks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for this conference, EU-Korea and Economic Integration of East Asia. After the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy in 2008, the world economy has been in a terrible situation. This happened 4 years ago, and yet many economists predict that this sluggish development of the world economy will continue even in 2013. Our neighbor, the EU, has been seriously affected by the Lehman Brothers incident as well. According to Eurostat, the GDP growth rate of the EU was 0.3% in 2008 and worsened to minus 4.3% in 2009. To make matters worse, the EU was hit by severe sovereign debt crisis, which was set off from the southern European countries, requiring immense amount of financial support. Despite these challenges, the EU has been surviving as an economic community. Some people say that the southern European countries are struggling because they have joined the community. This may be partially true. However, I think it is the other way around. If the EU has not formed itself as a regional community to respond to the challenges in coordinated actions, and if the southern European countries have not joined the EU, the consequences could have been much different. To speak of Asia, regional integration in Northeast Asia has been discussed since the end of 1980s. During the past 20 years, market-led functional economic integration has been progressing, especially amongst Korea, China, and Japan. According to KIAP's research, the share of intra-regional trade in 1990 was 12.3%, while it increased to 22.5% in 2010. Including Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, intra-regional trade records as high as 37.3%. Moreover, Northeast Asia has been showing efforts for institutionalization. It began from the ASEAN Player 3 summit meeting in 1999, which developed into annual trilateral summit meetings since 2008. Currently, the Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat is actively serving its duty. Indeed, Asia is not exactly the same as the EU. We do not have to follow the exact footsteps of the EU. However, Northeast Asia and Asia as a wider scope is relatively a late runner in regional integration. Although we have been successful so far, we can still utilize the European experience for efficient and better developments of regional integration by minimizing trial and error. In this sense, this conference is a meaningful event for all of us, enabling us to share the experiences of both Europe and Asia to search for complementary aspects in regional integration and to reinforce the ties between the regions. KIAP has been supporting numerous events connecting Korea, Asia, and the EU, including the operation of the first European Commission-sponsored EU Center in Korea. I am glad that KIAP has the opportunity to take part in strengthening the relationship between Korea, East Asia, and the EU, as well as to make contributions for further developments towards East Asian regional integration. I am certain that we will be able to come up with a fruitful outcome in today's conference. Welcome, and thank you again for your participation. Thank you.
Korean University, and especially Graduate School of International Studies and Division of International Studies, have been a very in close cooperation with the European Union delegation to Korea. And Ambassador Tomasz Kozłowski has never said no to my invitation to deliver lecture, special lecture or welcoming remarks. And I'd like to invite him for another one. So, Tomasz Kozłowski.
Minister An, Dr. Kim, other Dr. Kim, dear colleagues, friends, it's my real pleasure to be with you today and to join you in order to discuss extremely important issues, the EU-Korea partnership, EU-Korea relations, and economic integration in East Asia. I welcome very much this initiative, and I'm always very supportive to exchanges not only among governmental officials and politicians representing the both sides, but as well discussions, exchanges of views among representatives of our academic cycles. This is extremely important. As Dr. Kim mentioned, we as governmental officials, we need policy recommendations from you. We need your wise ideas how we may improve, how we may bring our relations forward. That's why I would like to congratulate organizers of this conference, and please rely on my support and cooperation in the future. And I would like to attract your attention to not only to the topic or the theme of our conference, but what is written about it, a new global agenda for EU-Korea partnership. This slogan is very wisely formulated, and it contains the truth. It reflects what we are really doing in our bilateral relations. And there has been a truly dynamic evolution of EU-Korea relations over the last 3 years. A relationship that was dominated by trade and economic interest is now developing into a mature strategic partnership. There are important reasons why the political aspects of our relations is developing. As the EU has honed its foreign policy making capacity over the last 10 years, so Korea has built a stronger global political role in line with its economic weight. The EU sees Korea as not only a like-minded partner. Our relationship is founded on shared values and common interests, and a determination to promote them on the world stage. Moreover, Korea is located in East Asia, in a region crucial for global economy and for peace and stability. The acceleration in the development of relations has been based on 3 pillars of the FTA, the Framework Agreement, and the Declaration of Strategic Partnership. The Free Trade Agreement is the most ambitious agreement of its kind ever entered into by the European Union. The Framework Agreement is an expression of the political will of the 2 partners to cooperate on a range of political, security, and global issues. The Declaration of a Strategic Partnership is a recognition that we are actors that can make a difference at the global stage. The 3 pillars have created the most comprehensive and modern contractual relationship the EU has with any country in Asia. They are not simple slogans. The agreements have already led to substantive and tangible action. At the time of economic crisis, the FTA is an invaluable instrument to ensure that our companies can grasp all opportunities available. The strategic partnership and the framework agreement are facilitating substantive cooperation on foreign security issues. the cooperation is being instrumentalized through the high-level political dialogue, and Minister An is a co-chair of this dialogue. This dialogue has already established a dense network of dialogues and consultations on a number of important issues for both sides related to global, regional, and international issues. We have launched dialogues on human rights, on development assistance, on situation on the Korean Peninsula, on development aid, on crisis management and post-conflict resolution. And the development of EU-Korea relations into these practical areas of cooperation will continue. I'm absolutely convinced. And ladies and gentlemen, the EU has very clearly defined security, economic, and trade interests in this part of the world, in East Asia. That's why we are very much interested in contributing to peace, stability, and security. That's why, by its nature, we are very much interested in developing regional architecture in East Asia with well-established rule-based institutions. That's why from the beginning I have paid a lot of attention to the trilateral cooperation between China, Japan, and Korea. I and my delegation have established good relations with the trilateral secretariat, with Ambassador Shin, and we are ready to share our experience in a very open way. We are ready to talk on our achievements in the European integration process, but at the same time, we have made a lot of mistakes on our way. And of course, we are very far already in our integration process. The East Asia integration is at the beginning point, but we are very open. Please learn what we have done, what we are doing, and please decide what kind of experience can be used in promoting your regional integration. And we are very much open for it, and I invited Ambassador Shin and his secretariat to visit Brussels, to meet the Council Secretariat, to meet the European Commission, and to see how we are working to promote our European integration. Ladies and gentlemen, I can see that organizers of today's event have brought together a collection of powerful intellect and experience, and I'm sure that this will guarantee us a fruitful exchange on the future of EU-Korea relations, and I will be very happy to get your policy recommendations, and later on I hope that Minister An will agree with me. We can sit as governmental officials and to see what is feasible, in what way we may make follow-up to your policy recommendations. I would like very much to rely on your support. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is His Excellency Ho Young-an. Ambassador, Vice Minister An Ho-young has been ambassador to the EU for a long time before he was appointed Vice Minister. And I'm very proud of informing you that His Excellency An was formerly distinguished visiting professor of our DIS, Division of International Studies. So it is no better person who can deliver this congratulatory address to our participants. So, Minister An, please.
Well, good morning. Professor Park, Professor Mimi Kim, Rector Paul Denop of Free University of Brussels, Dr. Che, the President of Kiev, and then Ambassador Kozlowski, Ambassador of the European Union. Last but not the least, Professor Kim Se-won. Why did I choose to recognize Kim Se-won last? Because I just wanted to recognize him as a very special person among us, in the sense that, well, in the broad sense today, we are going to discuss a little bit about EU studies. And then talking about EU studies, then I have to tell you that Dr. Kim, he is the initiator of European studies in this country. So what little we understand about European Union and what little we understand about the relations between Korea and then the European Union, I think it will be half as much advanced as we have them today, unless a good foundation has been established by Dr. Kim. So that is the reason why I chose to recognize him last, but certainly not the least. And then let me well, prepare you for the speech, keynote speech he's going to make just after me. So, well, in a sense, I'm just like John the Baptist to introduce Dr. Kim as a keynote speaker for today. Well, it was with a very light heart and heavy expectation that I came to this meeting today. And why do I say that? Light heart and heavy expectation. Because there are thousands of reasons why I should be coming with light heart and heavy expectation. And then this morning I will be sharing only 2 reasons why I'm telling you that. First of all, this seminar is taking place at the Korea University. And for those of you who do not understand what Korea University stands for in the academic community in this country, well, of course, it has very good reputation as an institution of very high academic achievement, but at the same time, it is quite well known in this country as for the warmth of its academic community. And as Professor Park has just stated, I had the pleasure of teaching at this prestigious academic institution for no less than 3 semesters as a visiting professor. And then I used to teach international trade law. And I told myself, international trade law is a very technical subject. And in a sense, not a very interesting subject. But somehow, my class was always oversubscribed. My class used to be 30 students, but somehow I had to deal with such large number of students applying for my class. So maybe it is another example of the high academic standard of the academic community here at the Korea University. So that is the first reason why I came with light heart and then with heavy expectation. The second reason is because today we are discussing on the European Union. And then I have to make a confession in the sense that I have very soft spot in my heart about European Union. Why? Because I spent 34 years in the Korean government service. Somehow, I spent large part of it on Europe-related issues. So because of it, I used to be director for bilateral trade between Korea and then the European Union. And then I had several stints of assignment in Europe, in Paris, when we were preparing for accession to the OECD, in Geneva, when we had WTO ministerial meeting in Seattle, as well as in Doha, and in Brussels as ambassador to the Kingdom of Belgium, as well as to the European Union. And then I was there at the very crucial moment when Ambassador Kozlowski has already mentioned it, when we had 3 important pillars between Korea and then the European Union enter into force. To start from Korea-EU FTA, which entered into force on the 1st of July in 2011, while I used to be ambassador there. So it is so there will be the 2 reasons why I told you that it was with very light heart and heavy expectation that I was coming to this seminar. With respect to the European Union, then what I always think is this, which is to let us just to try to look into what is taking place in the European Union today. And then let us just try to look into the external ambition of the European Union as an entity in the international community. And let's look into the relations between Korea and then the European Union. They will be the three areas where we could be having very fruitful and extensive discussions. I certainly would not going to prejudge the outcome of our discussions today, but at the same time, when it comes to what is taking place in the European Union today, then of course we have to say the situation is rather difficult. But at the same time, I have all the reason why I feel rather optimistic about the capability of the European Union to overcome the present difficulties they're having within Europe. I always think there are three sets of issues that should be addressed at the same time in order to deal with the economic difficulties they have in Europe for the time being. The first issue would be liquidity, the shortage of liquidity. Second issue would be how to develop institutions, European institutions, so that we could, in fact, do something with respect to the shortage of the mismatch between monetary union and fiscal union. But in fact, I think it will be the question of how to define fiscal union. And then if we come up with certain, say, institutional development to deal with this mismatch between monetary union and then fiscal union, that will be another important subject. But the third pillar would be the competitiveness of European economies. In my mind, those three issues are all interrelated. That is to say, how to deal with the liquidity question, how to deal with the institutional strengthening, how to deal with the competitiveness of the European economies. But in my mind, you cannot resolve any of the issues when you focus upon one issue among them without approaching them in a more holistic manner. When it comes to external, say, activities of the European Union as an actor in the international community, I think we are in fact observing the European Union beginning to take a very important role as an actor in the international community. And I think one symbol to convince us about this changing nature of the European Union as an actor in the international community is the fact that Ambassador Kozlowski here as an ambassador. Because before Ambassador Kozlowski, then European Union ambassadors we used to have in Seoul, they used to be officials, very capable officials, but with rather narrow focus upon international trade. But of course, Ambassador Kozlowski has a very broad experience. He used to be Director General for Asian Affairs at the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and very well-rounded diplomat with whom I always enjoy discussions, and I always learn through discussing all different issues with Ambassador Kozlowski. So I think the presence of Ambassador Kozlowski here in Seoul, it will be a very telling example of this expanding role and importance of European Union in the international community. And I think talking about the relations between Korea and then the European Union, I think we, in a sense, are observing a convergence of this growing importance of European Union and Korea in the international community. One example would be European Union. They, in fact, recognize certain actors in the international community as strategic partners. For European Union, they have only 10 strategic partners. 4 of them are found in the Americas: Canada, United States, Mexico, and Brazil. 4 of them are found in Asia: China, Japan, India, and Korea. And only 2 in any other part of the world: Russia and South Africa. And then it makes only 10 of them strategic partners for Korea, for the European Union. So you can see the importance European Union attaches to Korea as a partner. So that is the reason why the age is coming up to further develop the relations between Korea and then the European Union. So without further ado, let me once again congratulate you for this very timely seminar. And then once again, let me tell you that it was with, as I already told you, light heart and heavy expectation that I came to this seminar this morning. And as I already forewarned you, let me just leave the podium so that we could be welcoming Dr. Sewon Kim as a keynote speaker. Thank you so much.
So Minister An has already invited Professor Kim Se-won for his keynote speech. I'd like to add a little bit more. Professor Kim Se-won was a professor at Seoul National University, so he's now Professor Emeritus of Seoul National University. He was also a member of the Monetary Policy Council of Bank of Korea, and he was heading and chairing the National Council on Research on Humanities, Economics, and Social Sciences for 3 years. And then now Professor Kim has set up a research institute which is called World Economic and Social Research Institute, which is shortened WERI. So I'd like to welcome Professor Kim, and it is my really great pleasure and honor at the same time to have him here. The title of his talk is Conditions for Promoting Sustainable Economic Integration in East Asia, with a special reference in Europe's experience. And you have all the text here in this conference page.
Thank you, Mr. An No-young, for your so kind words to me. In fact, I wanted to visit Brussels while he was the ambassador, Korean ambassador to the European Union. But unfortunately, he had to leave to be the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Korea. I think the able person cannot stay in one place because more important role is always waiting him. Thank you, Mr. Minister Hanoi. Good morning, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure and privilege to be here, having been invited to deliver the keynote speech for today's conference, which is co-hosted by Korea University, the Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, KIEP, and Free University of Brussels. I think you have the text of my speech, so I will summarize it to meet the time allotted to me. The European Union, as we know it today, is the result of 60 years of progress in economic integration since the establishment of ECSC, European Korean Steel Community. This valuable experience allows us to focus on its implications for East Asian economic integration. By referring to the EU's experience, I especially would like to stress the basic conditions that should be met for successful East Asian economic integration. Since, as you know well, the mid-1960s, East Asian countries have paid attention to the idea of regional economic integration as regional trade agreements, RTAs, began to proliferate globally. The rapid increase in RTAs can mainly be attributed to the perceived defects of the WTO system. Accordingly, many East Asian countries pursue to negotiate free trade agreements, FTAs, with their trading partners. An FTA, as it is well known, is considered to be the first step of economic integration and expected to function as WTO plus agreement complementing the WTO. Of course, an FTA has definite advantages, especially on two counts. First, minimizing the limits on economic sovereignty, and second, reflecting parties' interest in agreement a la carte. Such pragmatic aspects of FTA attract the attention of many countries. Under these circumstances, discussions on the possibility of an East Asian multilateral FTA have been invigorated with the rapid economic growth of a region, along with the growing trend of FTAs in the world economy. Following the economic development of so-called newly industrialized countries, China and India have recently emerged as new global economic powers. From the early 2000s, the East Asian region has been consolidating its status as a key growth area leading the global economy. Moreover, East Asian countries' inter-regional trade dependence has gradually strengthened each year, so that their intra-regional trade amounts to 47.4% of their total trade. In addition, the comparatively rapid financial and capital movements across borders within the region are worthy of note. As shown from these examples, East Asian countries have functionally already been progressing towards a de facto market integration. If these countries institutionalize this substantial level of market integration in a systemic way, as did the EU, to accomplish trade liberalization within the region, they could earn even bigger economic gains in the future. Also, if they form a single institutionalized economic bloc, then this could give them stronger bargaining power in leading the world economic order along with the US and the European Union. Therefore, the current discussions for East Asian economic integration are focusing more on multilateral FTAs within the region as an early step to the establishment of a more advanced economic integration. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I would like to raise one key question on a multilateral FTA in the East Asia. What are the basic conditions for the success of such a regional FTA? Before speaking about lessons from the European experience, I would like to offer my personal opinion about the reasons why FTA in general do not function satisfactorily. Even though there have been countless FTAs concluded around the globe, only a few of them are considered as a satisfying case in terms of implementation. I assume two main reasons behind such failures: inherited characteristics of the FTAs and the parties' attitudes towards the FTA. At the first step to advanced economic integration, the FTA should develop a more integrated market form. It's a simple process, I think. Without such a sequential development vision over all prospects, the FTA is hard to sustain as a common goal of the parties in the long term. In that respect, as I mentioned before, the merit of the pragmatic characteristics of the FTA in reality faces a dilemma. It is often the case that an FTA is concluded because of the parties' short-term economic benefits or on the basis of diplomatic security strategies. However, such agreements based on short-term gains easily lose their advantages and it is hard for the parties to make any meaningful progress in implementing them as they are vulnerable to the changes in domestic and international environments. For the institutionalization of regional economic integration, at least two significant elements are required. First, common goals reflecting the honest needs of the parties. And second, institutions based on the parties' determination to achieve those goals. I believe that recently suggested proposals for East Asian economic integration, such as TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, RCEP, must take those elements into account. Speaking of two elements for institutionalization, I would like to share my views on EU's experience with you. Around 2 months ago, I had the opportunity to participate in Korea-EU Forum held in Brussels. During the forum, the current President of the European Commission, Barroso, presented a proposal for a three-step program composed of a banking union, fiscal union, and finally, federation of nation-states. While lots of different speculations for the future of the Eurozone crisis were presented, his proposal reconfirmed the basic principle that should lie behind them all. It was quite impressive to me. Like Jean Monnet saying that crisis brings changes, to me, it seems that the recent sovereignty debt crisis in Europe is strengthening the European countries' will for the economic integration. As you are well aware, the common goal of the European economies is to achieve sustainable peace and stability in the region based on the common identity as Europe, which has been established through history. As seen in the Treaty of Rome in 1957, economic integration aimed to European integration in the long term. Though complicated, the well-organized systemic institutions have functioned in a way to execute common policies for deepening such economic integration. Another examples, there are and there were a number of cases relating to FTAs in Europe. For example, European Free Trade Area, EFTA, European Economic Area, EEA, and Europe agreements, and so on. Most of them were considered to be a prerequisite step to take before joining the EU, or supplementary institution to keep pace with European economic integration. In short, all those agreements for freer international transactions are geared to accomplish the common goal of European integration. Ladies and gentlemen, the experience of economic integration in Europe cannot be transplanted into East Asian soil as such. However, we could find some meaningful methodological implications from the European case to that of the East Asian countries, and how the approach towards regional economic integration should be made. In principle, at the current stage, unlike the EU, it is impossible for the East Asian countries to discuss East Asian integration, which would mean political integration within the region. For East Asia, it is better to start with finding a more comprehensive yet pragmatic common paradigm to pursue. There will be no doubt that sustainable peace and stability are the common values for every human society to pursue, and worth setting up as a common goal for East Asian integration in the long term. Of course, there could be a definite difference of opinion among different countries in implementing detailed measures for the goal. Taking this into consideration, political or security-based approaches are less preferable for the East Asian countries than a pragmatic approach based on gains from economic integration. The Schuman Declaration on the 9th May 1950 heralded the long journey to European integration. As stipulated in the declaration, it is the common market in steel and coal that will make any war become not merely unthinkable, but also materially impossible. Economic integration primarily brings the parties' economic prosperity by promoting the common foundations for economic development and plays a key precondition for consolidating the peace and stability within the region, and an FTA is the first step towards that. Along with the regional peace and stability, sustainable development could be another common goal for East Asian countries. The two intertwined common goals of peace and sustainable development should be the main pillars to support East Asian economic integration. Not only for the East Asian countries, but also for the whole international community, sustainable development is the most precious common goal to pursue and requires the most effort. Nonetheless, decades-long discussions and numerous suggestions among the members of the international community have so far not come up with any effective measures to achieve it. Still, this long-term goal has more crucial implications for East Asian countries neighboring each other in and around the oceans. Environmental management requires more than one country's effort and will. So that being conscious of the purpose, joint actions, and close cooperation in policy-making decisions are needed by the relevant countries. As far as environmental issues are concerned, we cannot help but realize the fact that the whole of East Asia is firmly bound together by common destiny. In this respect, for East Asian countries, economic integration is a means of realizing common goals. For the purpose of sustainable and effective implementation of economic integration, the introductions of appropriate governance and institutions are needed. Appropriate institutions are supposed to eliminate trade barriers within the region on the one hand, and to facilitate mutual cooperation and adjustment in socio-economic policies among concerned trading partners for trade liberalization and sustainable development on the other. Further, one of the most important functions these institutions provide is to operate aid programs for certain local areas for the purpose of harmonious economic development. Given the situation where many East Asian countries are still less well developed, are in the process of transferring into market economy, they should take their time in restructuring the economic system in such a way as to invigorate market functions. That is because market integration is based on the premise of market economy, which enable participants to make gains from opening markets. At this point, I cannot emphasize more the requirement for close cooperation among the East Asian countries through financial assistance, knowledge and technology sharing programs, and also other means to meet the demand of local development and further to achieve the common goal of sustainable development in the region. Today, many renowned experts from the European Union and Korea gathered here for this conference. I hope this event will provide a valuable opportunity for those experts to share the EU's experience in economic integration and result in practical policy suggestions for East Asia. I sincerely wish the success of this conference. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Kim Se-won. Now our opening ceremony is ended, and I'd like to hand over this microphone to the chairman of the first session, Dr. Kim Bak-soo. So the assistants will make the room, and I'd like to invite all the participants of the session 1 to the podium.